with the House of Cards podcast. Get ready to stack the deck with the House of Cards podcast. The show where we break down the art of creative real estate investing. Join us as we dive into the world of real estate with insider tips and tricks for making your investments go further. From buying with no money down to flipping properties for profit, we've got you covered. Plus, stay tuned for expert guest speakers who will share their knowledge and experience in this ever-changing market. So grab a seat and get ready to learn the secrets to success in real estate investing. And now, from Alaska to New York, your hosts, Chris James and Jesse Stanton.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Good morning or good afternoon, I guess, depending on where you are. Dude, I didn't realize how loud I talk. For those of you guys who don't know, who are just tuning in, who missed yesterday's live, I got kicked out of the library live. Like it's on the internet, the kids would say. So I had my AirPods in and I had to take one out. And I was like, oh my gosh. Wow, yeah, I didn't realize how loud of a talker I am. But I got kicked out of the library, and apparently having one AirPod out doesn't help either. Anyway, enough about me. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. Good to see you. Like you're living a dream up there. I know you're at the cabin. I'm not for sure which one, but was it like 3, 4, 5 hour drive?
Yeah. We're about 3 hours south of Wasilla, which is where I live, and a town called Seward. Huge like fishing tourist place. And so we were down here for Memorial Day weekend, and like the salmon run was late. So there was no salmon coming in. So we ended up making it back down here. We'll probably be down here for about a week or so. Just going to try to live it up and do as much hiking and fishing and property buying as we can, bro.
No, I think that's amazing. I know for a fact, I was actually just talking to my mother last night about going to Alaska. We're actually doing a cruise. We're doing a cruise to Alaska. We actually haven't officially booked it. However, it's about 12 of us. My family, we're doing a cruise. I don't know like what part that looks like. I know we're doing 2 cruises next year, but we're literally was talking about that last night, and officially we probably have everything booked by next week. But I know for a fact that Alaska's on the trip, and I know they mentioned Bahamas, but I've already been to Bahamas. I've been to Jamaica. I've been to a lot of different areas. So that's still on the fence. We're just transparently, we're just trying to get our dad. Well, my father. He's a homebody. He don't like to travel. So we try to get his ass out of here, like to get somewhere. But no, it's going to happen. But Alaska is definitely one of the trips. I'm not for sure what part of Alaska we're going to be in. I'm not for sure where the cruise actually goes to, but it's going to be pretty neat. That's next year. I'm not for sure exactly the timeline, but I know we're going for 7 days. And it's going to be interesting. But of course, I'll be there before then. I'm just throwing that out there.
Naturally. Yeah, awesome, man. I'm excited, dude. I'm excited to meet the rest of your family and your twin brother and sister. Is everybody coming up, or
everyone's coming?
Hell yeah, dude. Awesome.
I don't know if you're gonna be able to handle everyone though. Like
me?
Jesse gonna be texting like, "What did he mean by he saying that?" Like, but no, it's gonna be a great time though. It's definitely gonna be a great time, and definitely looking forward to it. So, but yeah, we have some amazing guests on today, guys. We have Miss Angel Miller and Carlin and James, the infamous. You know, they handle a lot of things behind the scenes, especially in the House of Cards. They are great asset to just life. They're amazing individuals. They're go-getters. They'll do anything for you, whatever that looks like, and be a resource. So, you know, guys, if you're not reaching out to Angel, Carlin, and James, make sure you do. I know especially James. He's calling sellers live on a consistent basis, and I know Carlin's holding him down in the background. So
James was actually kind of talking about that a little bit this morning. He was like, Carlin gives me a list of people to call, and I just call them.
Okay.
Well, sometimes.
Amazing. And then of course, Angel's over in Kentucky. Actually, Jesse and I met with this young lady yesterday on Zoom. I believe was it Nikki? Was it Nikki or she's in Kentucky as well? We met with her in Zoom. I didn't know. I don't know what part of Kentucky. I don't know how big it is, but she started mentioning names. I'm like, I have no idea. No idea what that looks like. We got to get Angel on the phone and have that conversation. But
Kentucky, is that part of the United States?
You know,
right.
she doesn't live in
so.
Louisville or Lexington. She's in the sticks. Yeah, that's the
Oh,
way we
okay.
see it.
No, absolutely. But guys, thanks for joining today. I know we're a little bit late today. We've been having a lot of technical difficulties on all of our sides.
My bad.
Yeah.
But more so, guys, there's a lot of people that have been reaching out over the last couple of weeks. I know we're probably like maybe 5 or 6 episodes behind in regards to pushing them out. I'm still working on that. I can assure you by maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, I will ensure that I will upload to like Spotify and all the different platforms that we do have. Like actually, we're on Amazon, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple I think what is Apple again? Is it Apple?
Spotify.
No, it's Apple something. Apple Music. That's what it is.
Oh,
Apple Music.
Yeah. So we're on all those platforms. So don't forget to subscribe to that. I'll ensure that I get the latest updates out to you guys. So I appreciate it. Freddie, good to see you, man. Good to see you. You're always. I think we got some amazing people around us, Jesse. I really truly think that, and more so, I think 4 or 5 years. Actually, not. I know 4 or 5 years ago, I would not think I'll be surrounded by one, you guys that's on the screen, and 2, the people that's in my life now. I do feel like that, a lot of people that I meet on a daily basis, they're strangers, right? They're strangers, new people you're meeting, but they become your closest best friends, the people that you communicate on a daily basis. And it kind of, this may sound negative, but it kind of deletes your family who you thought were the most supportive.
yes.
Not in a bad way or negative way. I truly want you guys to understand it's not a negative thing. It's just more so sometimes your family don't understand what you're trying to accomplish. And versus, your the people you meet on a daily basis, I wouldn't call it strangers, maybe associates, whatever terminology you want to utilize. But the people that you meet, they really have the best support for you and best knowledge or experience or or guidance of what you're looking for in life. And where you're trying to, I think I spoke on it last week, where you're trying to force or maybe trying to implement something that into someone else, especially a family member that you're doing, it becomes stressful because that's not what they really want to do. They're comfortable where they're at, so leave them where they're at. And that's not a bad thing, guys. I truly mean that. That's not a bad thing. It's just that's the life they want to live. That's not the life I want to live. So that's why I'm pretty excited overall for what Jesse and I got in store for just June and July is going to be huge. It's going to be huge. We're super stoked about it. This entire quarter is going to change a lot for not just within our business, as far as where we're going and what the new developments are coming about. And the people that are in our corner, they're going to be right with us. They're going to be right with us, right? And just want to let you guys know, I don't want to spill too much because I don't want to jinx it or anything like that. But Jesse and I got some amazing things happening, and I can't be more just humble and grateful just to be alive on a daily basis, right? Because a lot of people they take that for granted. They really do. They wake up and like today I woke up in an amazing mood, right? Did I want to wake up? No. like me, I always want to wake up, but I definitely want to. Let me rephrase that. I always want to wake up.
Rephrase that, please.
Right.
You okay, Chris?
right.
If you need to talk, man, we're here for you.
but more so, people don't really cherish what they have in life. They really don't cherish, like even through the bad times. Like whether he's going through obstacles, even the good times, you really gotta thank God.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not for sure a lot of people are religious, religious or anything, but you really gotta thank thank God for where you at in life, because at the end of the day, life is really short. And who had a conversation with Mike Diaz. I love that guy so much, man. Like you guys don't know who Mike Diaz. He's based in New York and amazing individual, but I remember him saying, like, you can always make more money, right? But you can never get back your time. And it's true, because think about it, you're trying to go so hard to make so much money, and you really don't know when the last time you're going to be on this earth. So you're stressed. You can be stressing for weeks and days, months, and whatever that looks like, and then also like something can happen where I don't want to say it was pointless, but you really got to live in the moment. And that's why a lot of people out there are so negative. Like transparently, I pray every single night that remove any negativity out of my life. Any negative. I don't care if I think they're a close friend or as a family member. I want that negativity out of my life. And that's just me personally. And I only want positivity. And that's something that I always like. That's daily. I pray about that every day more so. It's just like today was a great day. Like, it was hot as shit when I woke up. I'm like, damn, like, like I'm going to hell. What's going on? Like, it was really hot, but it was 80 something degrees out. I'm like, and I didn't have the air conditioner last night, so I woke up like and drenched. I'm like, what's going on here? But it just a realization just to really be thankful for what you got, and everything happens for a reason. No matter like even the worst situations, everything really happens for a reason. And Jesse and I is a true testament to that. Real estate is not easy. You're going to come across a lot of obstacles within real estate. And real estate in general is, people think, just get your license and call it a day. No, that is not the case. There's a lot more just being an agent. There's a lot more to being an investor. If you're trying to be an entrepreneur and run a business, and not just run a business, but you have a lot of mouths to feed. You have a lot of people that is counting on you, and that you have to wake up on a daily basis to see how you can actually support them and be a resource. Is it easy? No. No, it's not easy. So it's just more of the story, like get around the right people, and ensure that you're in the right space of positivity and people who's really trying to support you, not just trying to take. So I do got to grab my charger, Jesse. I'm on 2%. I didn't realize I didn't grab my charger. So give me 1 second.
You're good, man. You're good. You're good. So I'd love to get more into Carlin and James and Angel from New Mexico to Kentucky. Your co-hosts. For those of you guys, for everybody who doesn't know, I just going off of what Chris was saying, and like I just want to take a second to express my gratitude, because specifically what am I trying to say here? I know I'm trying to get the words out. Chris and I talk to a lot of people, and we do business with a lot of people, but the three of you have specifically been such a huge impact and part of our lives. And I just want to express my gratitude and love for the three of you guys, and for being here in my life. I love you guys. And Joel, thank you for being here. Freddie, there's so many amazing people in the comments as well that we feel the exact same way. And it's been phenomenal to get to know you guys. For those of you guys who don't know, James and I, when did we meet? Back in 2000. It was February 1st of 2014, bro.
Yeah,
that's when it was. James and I made Staff Sergeant together, and we both met in Airman Leadership School in Luke Air Force Base in Phoenix in 2014. And we were going through, I think it was a 5-week class where they teach you how to be a leader and how to more effectively communicate and do the kinds of things that the Air Force, expects of their leaders. And so that's where him and I kind of got connected and started playing some music and stuff together, and eventually, met Carlin. And then Angel and I happened to cross paths. When did we meet, Angel? Back like November, October timeframe, maybe somewhere in there.
October, yeah.
Yeah, it's been absolutely amazing. We met through the Elephant Challenge, and just over the last, however, it was been now 8 or 9 months. We've been involved in a handful of different things together, and now you and James are hosting the Closers Roundtable, which, for those of you guys who don't know, is a Zoom where Angel and James specifically are talking about negotiating, communicating with sellers. I mean, they're actually, how about you guys kind of introduce it? But before we get into that real quick, every superhero kind of has their origin story. And for those of you who don't know these three individuals, I'd love you guys to just take a few minutes and just kind of tell everybody a little bit, who you are and how you came to get to where you guys are right now. What does your origin story look like?
So I guess the origin story for our real estate. So first of all, my dad always told me growing up, don't talk to people on the internet. Anyone who doesn't know, that's actually how
That's
I
just
met
good
my
advice.
husband. Yeah, that's how I met James. James and I met on the internet,
Yeah.
and that's how I met all of my friends. That's how I met you guys. So, 10 years ago, Dad would be thoroughly disappointed in what I've done with my life choices. Him and my mom are some of my biggest cheerleaders for real estate, though, so it's super cool. James and I live here in New Mexico. He's active duty Air Force, so we don't really have a choice on where we live. But we've been in Alamogordo for about 6 years now.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, 5-6 years.
With a whole 1 year
Wow,
break.
that's gone fast.
I know.
Yeah. We got
Wow.
out, and the military has jokes, and it's like, yeah, we'll just actually put you right back.
Yeah.
So I was born and raised here. I never escaped New Mexico. I probably won't ever escape New Mexico.
It's a little gold mine here, though.
Yeah, I love it. I hated it growing up. I love it now. We actually got into real estate about 2 years ago because New Mexico is cruel in aspects. There's this awesome summer curse where if your AC doesn't blow up in the middle of July, then you're not New Mexicoing, right? So
Yeah.
so our AC exploded. Boom! I thought James was dead. It was horrible. He survived it, luckily. But
Yeah.
on a military pay, I'll explain that one later, Joel. On a military pay, that's not really enough to take care of 3 kids at the time. I was pregnant at the time, so we were scrambling, trying to get new cars, because once you add a 4th kid, you have to get a whole extra row of seating, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, so we were scrambling, and I went into the deep dive of YouTube, and James being my biggest cheerleader, my biggest supporter, I started buying books. And anyone who knows me knows that when I start buying books, it's game over.
Rabbit hole.
Now that's what we're doing. And
Yeah.
so I started buying books on real estate, and James was like, hey, I actually have a friend, I think, that does this real estate stuff. You should talk to him. His name is Jesse.
He buys houses for the price of a cup of coffee. You need to call him. I saw that everywhere. You want to buy houses for the price of a cup of coffee?
Well, that's
What
funny.
is this guy doing? Yeah, I sent her. She did not want to reach out to Jesse right away, but she did.
Sounds like a scam.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't the scam aspect. In my defense, I was
Dude.
like, do I reach out to some random dude that I've never met? And my husband is telling me to call his friends. Like, anyone, like, that's not how typical relationships work. In the dynamic of healthy relationships, that's good. But a lot of us, get used to having partners that don't want you to talk to other people. They don't want you to talk to men. They don't want you going out with your friends. James is not like that. He's like, oh, here, call my friend Jesse. I was like, are you kidding me? Is this a trap?
Well, it was because he hooked us.
Yeah, so yeah,
I guess, Freddie.
was like, okay, and here we are 2 years later. I'm actually in business with Jesse. James is in his own business with Jesse and Chris. And
Yeah.
Angel and I have a book club. James and Angel have a closers roundtable, and my best friends are people I've never met face to face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was real estate's always been one of those things I always wanted to get to. Whenever she said, let's get into real estate, deep down I was like, oh God, this is going to be expensive. And then I thought about the $1 cup of coffee house, same, equals the same. And then her Jesse kind of convinced us, sounded unreal, too good to be true. But I mean, here we are 2 years later, and, we're somewhere where we never thought we would be, with opportunities knocking at our door every single day. Thanks to, everybody here. Everybody here watching that we've, talked to, provided opportunities on a daily basis that, we wouldn't have been even able to comprehend, or wouldn't have been ready for the opportunity back when if it would have presented itself 2 years prior. So
We actually knock on other doors for opportunities.
I love what you did
you see
there.
what I deal with. But yeah, it just God put us here. I mean, just like you were saying, Chris, I mean, we pray together every night, and just I think over the span, we've been doing it every single night for 2 years, and it just put us to where we are today. I mean, if it depends on the religious aspect of what you believe in, higher power and all that stuff, but we firmly do so. Yeah.
Amazing. Angel?
Ay. Okay. So my background's really similar to Chris's. I had been managing upscale steakhouse for about 10 years. And anybody who's done hospitality management, you're working 60, 70 hours a week.
Minimum.
And we actually had a bar in there and live entertainment that would go till 2:00 in the morning. So some mornings I was there till 5 a.m., turn around and open up the store again, at 7. So after my third kid, I was like, I got to get I need something else. I can't do this with 3 kids, right? So at the time, I went to get my real estate license, went all the way through the course. This, mind you, was in 2007 when I was pregnant with my last kid. And that's when everything crashed. So I quickly pivoted. I did, I completed the real estate course and all that. Didn't go get my license. So I pivot and I go into become a mortgage loan officer. And that actually only lasted about 8 more months. And my broker went belly up in 2008. So I ended up segueing with my loan experience into financial planning at the university and stayed there for many years. My husband at the time, I was with him for 20 years. He was not, he didn't want anything to do with real estate, never did. So when a couple of years ago, when I, made the decision I'm leaving him, that had always been in my heart. So I ended up running into Cody Sperber, which most of you know. Love this man. So that kind of opened up the door for me on my investment journey, because originally I was just going to be an agent. And so anyway, I start to learn how to do the investment side and really just went all in. About halfway through, I had lost my job at the university. COVID happened, enrollments dropped. We had to drop a lot of classes because we weren't as prepared to, shuffle all the students online that had to be built out, things like that. So I ended up losing my W-2, my money, my monthly paycheck. So in June of last year, I just really went all in and started hitting it hard and just never looked back. I mean, it's been great. I've got to meet like Carlin. I mean, all my besties are here, this is great. If I wouldn't do anything else. But it's not that it's an easy journey, because kind of back to what Chris was saying, just unfortunately was in a marriage where, he didn't allow me to go out a lot, things like that. So I didn't keep a lot of friends. So my family has always just been my support system. But ever since I kind of went full in with real estate, I've had to, I kind of work from the time I roll out of bed till the time I go to bed. So I miss a lot of family functions. I miss a lot of things that used to, when you have a large family, there's always something going on. And I just had to choose what was more important to me. Not that I don't love my family, because I do, but
right.
I'm working this deal and I need to get it done. And, it pays the bills and, all those things. So I had to start looking outward to this community to start to find that support, because my family just didn't understand. They didn't understand how important it was to me. They didn't understand why I couldn't just clock in somewhere 9 to 5 and not have to do all the crazy things that I'm doing to be an entrepreneur, So Chris, I totally vibe with that and understand that. I mean, it's not that you don't love your family or love your family any less. They just don't understand your passion the same way. I have went hardcore, ate ramen every day because this is what I want to do. And I'm willing to do that now. I'm willing to eat shit now so I can eat sushi for the rest of my life. I'm willing to do that. But sometimes it gets really hard. And I recently went through an episode where I thought my world was ending. And, Carlin, she jumped right in there and was like, in a nice way, get your shit together. We're here to support you. This is what we do, and we love you, and we want to help you. And so for me, I couldn't imagine being anywhere else in my life but here right now. This is it for me, and I love my people. I love you guys, and I have never felt such support and compassion from a group of people in my life. So I'm all in, and this, and like Chris, 5 years from now, we'll be joking about a lot of things that went down. We will, because we're all going to be doing great things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're
Absolutely.
making jokes at hibachi.
Yes.
All right.
Down in the Bahamas.
There you go.
So, that's my story, and I'm sure you'll be seeing me around because I'm not going anywhere.
That's a true testament right there from all the parties in regards to, no matter, like, we all have different upbringings, right? Different backgrounds, different religions, or whatever that looks like, and we all have we have a common goal. We're really trying to change our family trees. I know Jesse and Carlin, you guys got an army over there. I don't got that many kids, but but more so a lot of
Nothing
people
else
like
to do in Alaska, Chris.
nothing else to
Same with New Mexico.
understood completely.
When we meet up, we're actually going to have a soccer game. Jesse's family against our family.
That'd be a good
love
game,
it.
actually. I'm not
Yes,
sure who'll win.
anyone who wants to put bets on.
I can
taking
see
bets
Jesse
now.
being the coach. Oh God, yell! Don't need a what do you call those things?
I'm gonna get kicked out just for being loud, man.
I wouldn't doubt it. That's normal. That's normal, right? That's the root. But no, it's pretty neat. It's definitely pretty neat. Like, everyone comes from different backgrounds, and just to come together and then have one common goal. I love it, because essentially, you can't find this in a lot of communities. You really can't. I know in the hospitality industry when I was there, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
It was like every man for themselves, literally every man for themselves, and they say anything and everything just to be on your side. It's just when the wind blew, you're on this side, and vice versa. It was a mess. It was just a high school shit show, so to speak. And
Too many damn extroverts, right?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so I'm just glad being in real estate. It definitely changed my mindset and my perception on a lot of stuff. I got $20 on the house. I got 80. I'm just gotta say, I got 80 on Jesse though.
I'm gonna go to the next wholesale. It's gonna be the hostage,
the way
Colin, I got y'all.
just those kids, the way they are, they're gonna get you. They're gonna get those hostas.
Oh, I know.
and the Yorkie's gonna come with them too. So I can already see it. They come in deep.
Oh, the Yorkie versus the Husky. Let's see.
Oh, too funny.
Cat versus cat.
But no, this is amazing though. Just more so just to share. Thanks for sharing those stories and what you guys been through and what that looks like moving forward. And of course, I think a lot of people can relate to that. And more so, Angel. I did not know that you was a Cody Sperber student as well.
Yeah, he was my first mentor.
Yeah, same here. I did not know that. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm still part of his group. I mean, I love the man. I never.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah. But guys, this is like literally shows you, like, if you have a common goal and you really sit down and really understand what somebody's trying to accomplish, there's always value to be added, whether you see it or not. A lot of people always ask specifically, like, what value can I add, or what can I do to help you? Essentially, be you. Be yourself. Don't try to be like all these other individuals who are either on TV or they're posting this and this, and you don't have to act like no one but yourself, and the value will come. I promise you. Because if that's the case, all these people I admire that's posting and all this other stuff, essentially you're gonna change who you are to based on the perception wise. Like, why do that? And then you're gonna be in a state of where it may feel good right then and there, but it will hit you when you least suspect it, where this is not really your reality. You're living somebody else's dream. Live your own. And there's a lot of money out there to be made. You don't have to follow somebody else's dream to make a lot of money. So I just wanted to just say that more. So Luke, good seeing you. I haven't talked to you in a bit, but we got to catch up. I know you've been communicating.
Me and Luke are supposed to be doing 75 hard together. Me and Joel are supposed to be doing 70. Me and Larry are supposed to be doing 75 hard together. No one's holding me accountable. And I need to get on that, man. I need to get on that.
I'll get you fit in 30 days, Jesse.
There we go, dude. I'm counting on you, boo.
I'm on day 6. I forgot what program it is, but I'm on day 6. I should look it up. I literally did it this morning.
Chris goes to the extreme, dude. Chris is on day 6 of fasting with no air.
There you go, and it works. Oh, what's going on here?
What happened?
Let's change this. Not for sure.
No.
Not for sure.
Oh, Angel.
Angel probably lost internet connection, but yeah. But no, this is pretty neat. So, okay, we're having technical difficulties right now. Let me just put it back over here.
Round and round she goes.
There we go. Jesse, are you messing with this as well?
I'm not.
It's not
Okay.
me.
Cool.
I knew you were, so I was like, all right, hands off. But I kind of wanted to continue on the conversation that we were having this morning. Again, so if you guys don't know, James and Angel run the Closers Roundtable. James, will you kind of give it a quick like overview or an introduction? Like, what is it? What is that Zoom? Who is it for? What are some of the things that you guys touch on? What can people expect? If they haven't heard of it or they want to join.
Yeah. So the Closers Roundtable, we were hosting it every Thursday. We kind of switched up to Saturday mornings before this wonderful podcast, just because people are typically busy throughout the weeks, especially if you've got kids and stuff like that. But what we aim to do is it's kind of in the name. So you bring your calls that maybe you don't know how to get to the next step, or you kind of need some advice or a direction on, and you bring those to the Closers Roundtable. And myself or Angel or someone like Chris or Jesse or just whoever's in the group, whenever those questions or needs are brought up, we kind of, if it's something that needs called, I'll call it and see if we can't get it to the next step. But we have all these people join together and we kind of just discuss it. Any questions or anything and like this morning, a question was brought up by Dakota about a property that he's working, and we kind of talked with him and he reached out to me afterwards, like he said he was going to, and now we're going to, work together to get that deal to the next step and towards that finish line. So we mainly focus just to help out the community, help out all of you guys with whatever you guys' needs are. I mean, it could be, it could be family oriented. It doesn't matter if you bring that question, concern, that call to the group. We're going to help you figure it out. I mean, that's what we're here for. Just help each other out. There's Angel. She's so me and Angel are the ones that are going to, beyond that, we're the hosts, right? So we got a plethora of knowledge to bring and provide you guys and just help out whatever way we can. So,
dude, thank you guys for doing that, because it is such. I don't see really too many Zooms going around like this where people can just hop in all willy nilly and say, hey, you know what? This is what I've been working on the past week or the past month or past months. And either I'm having traction, I'm not having traction, I'm talking to this guy, don't really know what to do, or I'm talking to this agent. We come across a lot of people who are direct to agent in their marketing strategies, and they're like, man, I don't know how to pitch creative. Is there anything that I can do to kind of reverse engineer or maybe switch my pitch up, or how do I overcome this objection? And so this Zoom is for anybody who wants to learn how to increase their communication or their sales experience, and to be able to leverage you guys and your experience. Correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Leverage us in whatever way you need. I mean, we're here for you guys. That's why we're doing it. Mir, yes, it's going to stay on Saturdays for the foreseeable future. It just seemed to work out better for everyone. We had a really good showing. There was a lot of really good conversation, and so yeah, we're probably going to keep that 10 Eastern. No,
Mountain.
12
Eastern.
I mix that up all the time. You'll probably see that in the House of Cards. I'll probably butcher the time a few more times, but yes.
And then I'll correct it in the comments.
10 Mountain Standard.
So 12 p.m. Eastern time every Saturday. You guys are going in. You guys are calling sellers. You guys, I heard this morning. Dude, this morning's conversation was phenomenal. Oh my gosh! Like you and Angel were just dropping just freaking gems for everybody. Actually, I screen recorded some of the stuff that that both you guys were talking about, because it was so good, man. I was like, oh my gosh, like we've got to continue this conversation on today's podcast, because there's so many people I think that have questions, especially when it comes to talking to sellers and agents and overcoming objections and knowing, you know, what to say. And a lot of times it's knowing not only what to say, but knowing what not to say. And Angel, I would love for you to kind of expand on that a little bit, because the conversation was so good. But basically, you told everybody, you're like, hey, you know what? Just shut the hell up. Just shut the hell up. Now, those are my words, not yours. But you know, what did you mean by that? Why would somebody call a seller and then you advise them to just shut up?
One of the things that like tripped me up a lot when I first started calling sellers was I was so worked up about what I'm going to say next, or ask irrelevant questions for the moment, like how many beds, how many baths. Those are really irrelevant at the moment, right? That's not what the call is for. The call is for building rapport. But I would get so caught up in thinking I had to go through this script that, you know, I'd blow the call. So what I learned over time is just to start the conversation with an opening question. You know, tell me a little bit about the house. That open-ended, they're going to start to tell me all the little things I need to know. But what I'm doing while they're talking now, instead of worried about what I'm going to say next, is listening for everything in the background. Do I hear dogs, kids? Are they watching Jerry Springer? You know, what are they doing? Because I'm going to want to connect with them. I'm looking for a way to connect with that person. So if I hear, you know, babies crying, I've got a 17-month-old granddaughter, blah, 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 whatever I can find to connect with them. If they're watching Jerry Springer, oh my God, I used to watch that. God, you know, whatever.
Rip Father Springer.
Yeah. God rest his soul, right? So that's when I say that, that's what I mean is try to pose open-ended questions that are going to get that seller talking and opening up to you. But while they're doing that, pay attention to what's going on around. Pay attention to those keywords that they might say. You know, maybe they're getting older and they're like, just, you know, it's just too much and we're going to move to Atlanta with our grandkids or whatever the case is, you know. Listen to those cues. But if you're so, you know, wrapped up in trying to figure out what you're going to say next or making sure that you're asking the right questions, you're missing the whole point of the call. The whole point of the call is information gather and build rapport. That is the whole point of your call. So stop worrying about going through a script. Please, if you have a script, burn it. Okay. That's my opinion. Because you should be having a conversation with the seller, not trying to go through a script. So that's kind of what I was leading to this morning, Jesse.
I love that you said that. There you hit on several good points in there. And one of them was stop worrying about what you're going to say.
Yeah. That will trip you up every time.
Yep.
Why do you can you explain that a little bit more? Like what does that mean?
Let me tell you, because if you are asking open-ended questions, as they're telling you their story or the story about themselves or the house or whatever that may be, that's when you're listening, and you should be writing down specific things to probe the next question, because the next question should be how you're going to be able to overcome an objection they've made during that statement. For example, my husband recently had a stroke, and, you know, we've got about 5 acres and he can't mow the lawn anymore. You know, it's just too much. So that right there is that little snippet is your key to overcoming an objection, a financial objection later in the conversation, right? Because they're what's going to come up next is, oh, well, it's 5 acres, so we want 300,000. It's got 5 acres. I know. And I do remember you saying you guys can't really take care of it anymore. You know, that's how you pull it back into that financial piece of the conversation.
Yes.
So, you know, it could be 5 acres of overgrown crap that you're now it's going to cost me, the investor, $5,000 to clear. So, you know, I mean, when I say that, pose those open-ended questions so you can gather that information through the conversation. And as you're doing that, write down those key things that come up that they say are pains for them. That's a pain point. He had a stroke and he can't mow the lawn anymore. He's got 5 acres. That's a pain point, right? Yeah. And that's
Absolutely.
also something you can use later to overcome an objection from him. So that's kind of why I say those open-ended questions are so important. Just drive the conversation with those, and you'll not only collect all the information on pain that you need, but you'll also collect information to overcome the objections later on when you're talking on the financial aspect of it.
Man, that is so deadly. That is so deadly. I love what you said there. I often find my time is doing the exact same thing. Right when I first hop on a phone with a seller, one of the first things I love to do is start asking questions that are obviously open-ended, but they're in a way that allows me to quickly disqualify individuals as well. I think a lot of people make the mistake of just calling everybody they can, and then instead of trying to disqualify them, they're in the mindset of I need to force a way to qualify them, if that makes sense.
Yes.
James,
Yeah.
what do you see a lot of people like why would that why is that not a good idea? Because I know you see this a lot, because you help a lot of people with making phone calls to agents and sellers. And a lot of times, I know both of you kind of see this, where people call sellers and then they start overloading all this information on you when they want you to call them, and they're trying to sell you on why it's a good deal. And, instead of looking to disqualify, they're looking to qualify. But from your perspective, why is it better to go the other way around? Why is it better to call a seller with the intention of, hey, I need to disqualify first and foremost?
Great question, Jesse. So one of the things I see most often is, especially with people who are newly getting into real estate and finding their new path, is that a lot of people try to make every single call a deal, which just isn't realistic. We can't help everybody. And we need to focus more of our time. And you say it all the time, Jesse, is be intentional. You need to be intentional, and you need to have the conversations and build rapport and try to help the people that you are able to. Like Angel was saying, you work towards disqualifying people because you're not going to be the best fit for everybody. So sending someone to an agent might be the best fit for them. They don't need to sell. They don't need to sell tomorrow. They don't need the money. They just would prefer to have the most amount of money for the amount of time that they invested in the property. So, send them to an agent. Or, you can't try to force everybody to give you their house for the best deal possible. And just one of the biggest issues that I see is people try to close people on the first call.
Yes.
And they don't spend the time, like Angel was saying, building that rapport, and they try to close them. And Freddie brought up a really good question. Is it okay to make mistakes and fudge up a call royally? It is. Just learn from them and move on to the next. One of the biggest mistakes is that trying to close the call on the first try. You're not there to do it. You're not, and it might happen to you. It's happened to me. And, it might happen to you, where you call them and they're like, yeah, this is the price I want. Angel was talking about it earlier. Okay, well, I'm going to send you the contract right away. And you don't really have to do anything for it. That happens. And then
Those are like golden eggs.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, they are.
Realistically, you're going to have to work. You're going to have to build through you're going to have to go through those barriers and break down those walls. And each person's different. Don't treat everyone the same. So
I love that you said that, dude. You said, because I just want to recap on this, because I don't know if everybody caught what you said. Particularly, you said, if I can just refer somebody to an agent, then I'm gonna. What do you mean by that? Because like I can imagine a lot of people hearing that who aren't familiar with negotiating or what it really means to kind of reframe your position as a negotiator to disqualify, then try to find a reason to qualify somebody. Why would you refer somebody to an agent? If you got somebody that you're on the phone because they're interested in selling their property, at what point do you shift the conversation? You're like, oh, we'll just list it with an agent. Like, what do you mean by that?
So what I mean is, when I said you can't help everyone, you can't. But So if you're talking to a seller, just for an example, if you're talking to a seller and they have this house, they've lived in it for 20 years, they just fixed it up because they're getting ready to sell it. They've got a couple weeks of work left, and they've already put tons of money into the property. They've had tons of heartfelt times they're attached to it, and they're working to sell this property for the most amount of money that they can to move on to the next part of their life. Someone like that isn't going to be motivated to, turn around and sell this property to me for 90,000, even though they'll make 90,000. If the property's worth 150, I mean, to them, that's what they want to get for it. In that sort of situation where I'm not going to be able to help them, and there's no motivation to do creative or anything of that nature, I'm not just going to leave them high and dry. Like, they want to sell their property, and maybe they don't know what the next steps are, and we're here to help them. That's what our main motivation is, at least for me and a lot of the people that I talk to. We want to help these people the best we can. And so if that's referring them to an agent, if that's referring them to someone that, is a little bit more familiar with the area or whatever it may be, then I'm going to do it as long as it helps them further what they're looking to do. I'm going to focus my time on the other sellers that I have that need me, that they don't have the same opportunity that this person's going to have. So, referring them to an agent is just the best thing for them. And it's going to free up a lot of time for me, because now I don't have to worry and manage this lead that's not going to go anywhere. And I know it's not going to go anywhere, but I don't have that heart sunk feeling where it's like, I just let this person go. Like, okay, well, have a good life. Bye. Well, at least I referred them to where they can get the help that they need and
absolutely
get on to that next step.
I think that's
what it's all about, man.
Yeah.
Perfectly said. Absolutely. To yours and Angel's points, that's one of the first things that I know I love personally. Like everyone, it's neat. What's cool about what your guys' Zoom is you get to hear Angel's style of negotiating, and you get to hear James's style of negotiating, and how you guys have those conversations and disqualify people and qualify people. And everybody kind of does it a little bit differently. I don't think there's necessarily a wrong way, as long as you kind of understand sales at a higher level. It's neat to kind of get in there and do what Angel said, just kind of throw the script away, get in here and just learn how to have a conversation with somebody. I think that's where the real skill is. And one of the first things I love doing when I first 30 seconds, I get on a phone with somebody. I'm calling them because I know they're interested in selling. And what I love to do is I love to tell them, hey, so you're interested in selling. What does your realtor think? That's one of my favorite lines to use right in the first couple minutes of the conversation. And I know they don't have a realtor. I know it's not listed, but I like to take the assumption that they have a realtor, and then they're going to do one of two things when I ask that question. And it goes back to Angel's point, making sure you're actively listening. You're not worried about what they're going to, what you're going to say next. When I ask that question, they're going to tell me one of two things. They're going to say, oh, well, I effing hate realtors and F them, and they don't deserve my commission. I don't want to pay realtor fees and blah, 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 blah. Right? Which, to Angel's point, again, unbeknownst to the seller, right when they tell me that, guess what? When it comes time to actually start negotiating price, if we're not agreeing, and I say, hey, well, what does this look like for you in the next 2 or 3, 4 months? If you can't sell this, what then? They're not going to come back and say, oh, well, I'll just list it with a realtor, because that's what they told me they're not going to do in the first 30 seconds of the conversation. So unbeknownst to them, I've already propped them in a position to where they're not going to be able to go against themselves. So we've already started negotiating from the first question, and they don't even know it. Or what they're going to say is, actually, I've listed it with a realtor, or I'm listing with a realtor next week. At which point I might throw out a couple more specific questions just to better qualify or disqualify the individual. But if it looks like that's kind of where their heart is set, and they're just like, yeah, and you guys used this morning during your guys' Zoom. James, I think you use the example of, because you get sellers that are like, yeah, you know what, throw me a number, and I'll chew on it and see if I'm interested. A lot of times what I love to do is you guys are familiar with the 80-20 rule. to Angel's point, you just shut up. You let them do 80% of the talking, and you do 20% of the talking. For me specifically, and I'd love to kind of hear a little bit more from you guys on how you navigate the conversation, but that 20% of talking that I do two things. I validate, and then I question, and then I validate, and then I question. And it really helps alleviate any miscommunication, and it helps you become a very clear communicator in being able to paint that picture or better articulate your point. So when somebody says, hey, yeah, throw me out a number, then I just go ahead right away. And I'm like, hey, you know what, John, if I'm hearing you right, it sounds like you're obviously interested. But what you're looking for is, hey, if I could come up to a price high enough that would benefit you or get you excited to sell, only at that point would you sell. Am I understanding you right? So I validated, right? And then I questioned. This is what I'm hearing you say. Is that correct, or did I misunderstand you? And then a lot of times they're like, yeah, no, that's exactly right. And then I go right to what James said, man. I'm like, cool. You know what? I can tell you right now, I'm probably not going to be a good fit for you. I don't want to waste your time. However, if you don't already have a realtor, can I help you find a realtor? I work with I've got a nationwide network of realtors that I work with very closely. And so just, again, going back to what James is saying, James's point, just being a resource. But right there in just the first couple minutes, man, I have figured just going that realtor route or asking that realtor question, it allows me, one, to come back and use that as a negotiating tactic later on, or it allows me to disqualify them immediately.
I often use that when I get to that point in the conversation too, as an opener for creative, oftentimes, because they do want their price, but they don't want to pay fees. They don't want to pay any realtor fees or anything, right? And I'm like, that just can't work for me for a cash price. However, if you're open to, and then I take that segue and flow into a creative.
Yeah.
I
love that. I think a lot of people make the mistake. I would say 9 times out of 10, this is how most people do it, is they call and they're doing the script. They're just like, all right, tell me about the condition, tell me about the price, tell me blah, 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 give me the pics, when's your timeline? And then they go right into, all right, let me run my numbers. Let me go with my numbers guy and I'll call you back. And then they end up playing tag with the seller for the next week, not to mention all the time that it takes to run numbers, do a walkthrough, get pictures, get a bid for rehab, like all these other kind of things. So I mean, it could take a couple weeks just to get all that information, to underwrite it, to follow up, and then the next time they call the seller, they come to find out that, hey, they know that if they're going to buy it, they're going to go creative anyway. And by the time they get a hold of them 2 weeks later, it's like they're like, no, I'm not interested. And then we wasted all that time. So going back to James' point, is just being super, super intentional with your time and those conversations, and trying to go for the disqualify, so you can make sure that you're spending your time accordingly. What are some of the big objections that you guys see? Because being in real estate, I mean, you kind of start to see the same objections over and over and over. And I think the fun part of the whole thing is figuring out different and more creative ways to kind of overcome some of these objections. But for everybody who's listening, because dude, I would love to kind of just continue that conversation that we were having this morning, because it was absolutely phenomenal. But I'd love to hear some of the objections that you guys hear when you guys call sellers, and how you overcome those, or what are some of the more popular things that you guys are seeing?
Ooh, that's tough. I used to have a lot more objections to overcome, but now that, for the last 6 months or so, I've kind of segued into asking those open-ended questions. I don't really run into objections, because I resolve them as we go through the conversation. So by the end of the conversation, they already know where I'm at, I know where they're at. You know, that's tough, Jesse, because I just don't run into it like I used to run into it because I've already resolved them along the way.
Yeah. Well, and it's because you've changed how you have those conversations, right? How you maneuver those conversations.
Well,
It's
I
no
actually
longer
have
just a black and white yes or no.
right? I actually have conversations. So I kind of resolve them as we go. And yeah, I mean, if I think back though, I mean, probably the biggest objection I always got when I first started calling was people would tell me that, you know, on Zillow, my house is worth this is especially when it was like last summer and prices were crazy, and you know, my house is worth $300,000, and you knew damn good and well it wasn't, you know, but Zillow said so, you know, that's where their head was at. So that was always a hard one to run into. But you know, as you go on and you learn how to talk through those things. I also always share. A lot of times I share my comps with sellers because, you know, even if they have talked to a realtor, realtors don't know how to run comps. Sorry if there's any on here.
Very true. Very true. Very true.
So I often, if I'm going to, especially if it's a local one and I'm actually going to the house, I'll take those comps with me and go through those comps with the seller so they can actually see where I'm coming from. And that helps a lot. So, yeah, I mean, for me, that was probably the biggest one.
Yeah. I mean, objections are, you know, they're a dime a dozen. There's so many of them. Ran into pretty much everything. I'd say mostly for like, I don't know, for cash, it's they need, you know, a certain amount of money to be able to move forward with their life in whatever manner. That one, you know, ends up turning out to be a little creative a lot of times just because of the amount that they need typically isn't a small amount, and it's not typically, you know, the amount that we're going to need in order to move forward with the property. More of my objections typically come from the creative realm when we've explored the cash won't work, and most of the time what I hear is just, you know, I don't want to carry a note. I don't, you know, I have no idea what that is. I want all my money now. And that's a really big one, is I want it now. And so one of the biggest helps for that would be just kind of, I guess, walking them through the process of what it looks like when you sell a property cash on market, and just kind of breaking down, like, you're not going to get all the money that you think you're going to get. And, you know, especially if they have a mortgage, you know, they might expect to get $50K, and they're like, no, I really, you know, I need this money. And if I sell this at your price for cash, I'm not going to get it. Or if we do the creative route, I'm not going to get all the money up front. It's like, well, you're not going to get that amount of money depending on how much the house is selling for. And just kind of breaking down the selling process, what the costs are associated with it. That seems to help move the conversation along. And then just kind of finding out what they're looking to do with the money. You brought this one up for me, Jesse, and it's helped out tremendously. And like, I'd say 90% of my conversations is just finding out of what they plan on spending, asking that tough question, like, what are you going to spend the money on? Build a rapport, obviously. Don't just go in and say, hey, I'm going to give you this money. What are you going to spend it on? Tell me. I want to know. It's, you know, building the rapport, like Angel said, finding out what their interests are. And then once you've built a personal connection with them, you don't slip it in. Like, so, I mean, what are you looking to do afterwards? How's this money going to help you out? And just asking the right question at the right time. And they'll, you know, Jeannie was one of those. She, you know, asked her what she was looking to do. It didn't work out. Jeannie's Jeannie.
Jeannie. Oh God.
Jeannie.
She wanted to travel, right? And so, I mean, Jesse had one too that he always tells his story. You know, they wanted to travel. They wanted to go abroad. They wanted to go and not have to worry about a property. Well, you know, the creative realm's a great route I can make it to where, you know, now you don't have to worry about income while you're out there traveling around. I can, you know, give you a down payment to throw on an RV, or, you know, get across the big blue, and then just make your payments. And now you've got money to go go see the Leaning Tower of Pisa or go to the Yellowstone National Park, and you've got a constant source of income that now I can help you out with. You don't have to worry about that property. So that's just an example. There's a bunch of different it's too broad. It's really hard to.
100%. 100%. No, I totally know what you're saying, man. But I would totally agree with you. I think most of the objections come when you start pitching creative. I think of most people who are pitching creative make the mistake of trying to overload the seller with just so much more information than they even need to know.
Exactly.
I'll show you guys exactly for everybody watching. This is how I pitch creative, and I pitch it this way every single freaking time. And I pitch it this way when I'm talking with agents, and then I change it up just slightly when I'm talking with sellers. But you'll notice that I don't ever mention the words subject to. I don't mention sub to. I don't mention creative finance. I don't even mention terms, because there's a saying, a confused mind says no. Yep. So once you start throwing all this information out there and say, hey, well, we can do a subject to, and the loan's going to stay in your name, and the deed's going to come over to us, and we're going to put in place a deed in lieu of foreclosure. We're going to get a servicing company. And it's like, oh my gosh, no, this sounds illegal. What the hell are you even talking about? Yeah, no. I had a lady call me yesterday, as a matter of fact, and she's like, hey, I'm trying to call this, or I was talking with this realtor, and he wanted more information on it, and we sent him more information on it, and now the realtor's been ghosting us. And I had my friend contact the realtor, and he finally messaged back and said, are you looking for more like desperate people or something like that? That was the only thing that he said, and they couldn't get a hold of the realtor. And I kind of gave him a little bit of advice and a shift in perspective on how they should approach creative. I think that's a mistake most people make, is trying to pitch creative with using all of these terms and saying all these different things, and just information overload for both the agents and the sellers. Yep. And one of the things that I do, I'll share the story that James was kind of referring to, but this is how I do it with every single person. And I'll share a little bit with how I do it with agents, and then how I do it with sellers. But with this seller in particular, because I love to use this as an example. It happens every day, every week. But this one in particular was just a great example to use. But there was this lady in North Carolina who was trying to sell her house. She had it. She was selling it for $350,000, and I was like the 10,000th investor to freaking call her phone and bug her about her freaking property. And of course, everybody else who called before me, were other wholesalers, and they're offering her, $200,000, $210,000, $225,000, $235,000, $230,000. Somewhere around that 70, 60 cents on the dollar-ish, somewhere in that ballpark. And believe it or not, to James's point, nobody ever asked her, what do you need the money for? Why can't you come lower? What is it you're trying to accomplish? It's like going to the doctor. When you go to the doctor and you're like, hey, doc, my tummy hurts. The doctor's he doesn't just prescribe you pills right then and there. It's like, oh, okay, got you, boo. Right? He's checking your nose. He's checking your throat. He makes you do the noise. He's checking your knees. He's touching your back. He's listening to your lungs. He's doing all these kinds of different things. Does it hurt when I do this? What does it feel like when I do this? Or when I push here, when I apply pressure here? He's touching your abdomen, doing all these things, right? So he can narrow down what the exact problem is. And so similarly, that's how you need to think about approaching sellers and agents. It's not enough to just say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I'll buy it subject to, and I'm going to do this, and this for you. It's like, no, that's information overload. You need to figure out what problem is it that they're trying to solve. That's first and foremost how you should be approaching conversations with sellers and agents is, hey, is there a problem for us to even solve here? Because if there's not, then you know what? Maybe I'm not a good fit for you.
Yeah.
So with this lady in particular, she was selling it for $350,000. Again, I was the only one to ask. I was the only mofo to ask her why she needed the money, or what is it she was trying to accomplish. Why did $220,000 cash not work for her? And she opened up and she said, hey, you know what? I've got a mortgage for $250,000. So I'm trying to sell it because I've got $100,000 in equity. And I want to take that $100,000 and I want to go buy an RV, and I want to go RVing for the next 4 years all over the country. I want to get out from underneath this house. I want to sell it, be done with it. I don't want to do the maintenance and the upkeep and everything else on it. I just want to go into an RV and just go be me. I'm like, bro, I think that sounds freaking amazing. Well, Gina, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if this is a good fit for you. However, we buy and sell properties a handful of different ways. What if we just kept this super simple? You got $100,000 in equity. What if I just make payments to you on your $100,000? I give you a down payment so you can go get into an RV. Now, I just bought an RV last year, so I know that you don't need $100,000 in cash. But what if I could give you enough to where you could go get out from underneath this house, get into an RV, and then I'll just make payments to you. You got mailbox money coming in every single month. And that's going to pay for your gas. That's going to pay for your fishing trips and the golf course. And it's going to be all the things. You don't have to worry about money for the next 4 years. And you don't have to worry about showing and dealing with other, silly nonsense, lowball offers and all these other kind of things. Why don't we just keep it super simple, Gina? So guys, notice in that pitch right there, I didn't say anything about subject to. I didn't say anything about taking over the mortgage. I didn't say shit, man. I said, hey, Gina, let's just keep this simple. You got $100,000 in equity. You're trying to get out. Totally get it. I'll give you your $100,000 in equity. What can we do to work out some sort of agreement to where I can get you out from underneath this house, at least right now? And let's figure out what those payments look like, whether they're monthly, whether they're quarterly or biannually, or maybe you just get a lump sum every year. Like what is it you're trying to do? What can we do? How can we work? And so when she said, yeah, that actually might be something I would be open to. Actually, her exact words were, oh my gosh, nobody has ever said this before. This would be amazing. Yeah. How do we move forward? How does this work? And then once I had her, then you start going into, well, we would of course take over ownership of the property and of course continue making the payments and blah, 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 blah. But then that's when I started going into the rest of the nuances of how that works. But you got to keep it so freaking simple. And if you guys notice in that, I didn't mention anything about creative finance. I didn't say the word subject to. I didn't say performance deed. I didn't say any of that kind of stuff. I didn't even say the word terms, even though that's what all this is. I said, oh, you want $100? Boom. Let's keep this simple, Gene. I'll just give you, I'll give you your $100 or your 100,000. So that's one of the big things that I love to do. Yes, Joel, absolutely. Just so simple, bro. So anything creative finance, like the more simpler you can make it. So like a third grader, like pretend like you, for those of you who have kids, pretend like you were going to pitch creative to your kids. Like what an amazing way to practice pitching creative.
You could just pitch creative to your kids.
You could,
There you go.
right? Somebody asked about failing forward. I don't remember if I think that was Joel or Freddie, or is it okay to go in and just butcher the conversation? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we can go in and recover it. Any one of us on this screen can go in and recover it. Call Angel, call James. Say, guys, hey, you know what? I effed up freaking pitching creative. I threw out all this information. Now they're scared of it. How do we recover this? Call them and they can do it. They'll recover it. But that's one of the things I love doing. And then I'll give you another example real quick. When it comes to agents specifically, if you guys have a pen and a paper, write this down verbatim. This has been like the best thing that I have figured out. This all just came from me failing forward as well. But I'm going to give you something to say verbatim. And I don't know. I don't want to jinx myself, knock on wood. But I don't know that I've had an agent turn me down yet. Chris was actually on the phone with me. We were talking to an agent. We're buying 30 units from this agent. And we were talking about creative with her. Chris, I don't even think I said the word subject to or creative financing or anything like that with her either. But we told her what we do and how we do it. And she's like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm totally on board with this. But if you guys have something to write this down with, I don't know that I've ever had an agent turn me down on this. People make the mistake of trying to pitch creative to agents. And again, what ends up happening is it's information overload.
Yeah.
They're telling them about the performance deed and subject to, and the deed's gonna be transferred, and the debt's gonna stay in their name. And of course, the agent, if you could articulate all the nuances of creative finance in one conversation with an agent, and the agent was able to take that in and articulate it back to their seller and overcome the seller's objection, there would be no need for a creative finance mentorship. You would never need to join or talk there. If it was that simple, there'd be no reason for any of this. But most people, when they talk to agents, they treat it as if that's the reality. That, I can just tell the agent what it is, and they're going to be able to take this information, never have heard of it before, and be able to articulate it just as well, if not better, back to the seller and overcome all their objections and make them feel nice, warm, and fuzzy about it. That's not it at all. So this is what I'm going to give you guys just something to say to the agents real quick. Of course, when we go creative, we always go cash first. But when cash doesn't work, that's when we make that pivot, right? So I like to say to the agents, I say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, it looks like I'm not a cash buyer on this property. However, we buy and sell properties a handful of different ways. And if your clients might be open to something a little less conventional, that's key right there. If your clients might be open to something a little less conventional, I would love to line up a phone call with you and your clients, and of course my partners and I, and maybe go over what a couple of those options might look like. Answer any questions you guys have and see how we can go about still getting your clients the number they're asking. We can take care of closing costs and pay your commission. Is that something you would be opposed to? Now we're talking about sales. James, what do most people love to say, dude? Just in sales, like whether you're going into Foot Locker or whether you're going on to the car dealership to go freaking buy a car, and the salesman walks up to you and they're like, "Hey, James, you here to buy a car? What are you looking at, man? Can I help you?" What do most people say, bro?
No, I'm just looking.
No, I'm just perusing, baby. Hey, I'm not here to actually buy a car. I know it looks like I am, but I'm not. I'm just perusing, right? So everybody, like, we have this guard up. We love to say no. Everybody loves to say no. So again, this kind of goes back to sales. I always love to ask questions that solicit a no response. So if you guys heard the last tail end of that, the last thing the realtor hears is, I want to cover your commission. Is that something you would be opposed to? What are they going to say? No, Jesse, I would be opposed to that. Right? So they say no, but really it solicits a yes and a positive response, which is what we want. And so anyway, when you get creative, my point in telling and sharing this is that you want to be able to get the agent and the seller on the phone with you. And then only at that point, that's when you go into creative. Too many people make the mistake of trying to overload the agent with information and expect them to have the warm and fuzzy about it. You need to get both the agent and the seller on the phone with you. And actually, you know what? That would be something kind of cool to do on your guys' live for everybody. Maybe we ought to line up a phone call with the agent and a seller, and you guys have that conversation. If you guys would love that in the comments, like, throw that in the comments. If you guys would love to see Angel and James talk to a seller and pitch creative to an agent and their client, let us know. I think that would be awesome. Maybe we ought to line something up. That'd be super dope.
Yeah, let's do that. I think that hearing it and seeing it, hearing it just like how we used to teach in the military, right? You give them the tools, and then you show them how, and then they go out and they perfect it on their own manner. So I think
100%.
I think that'd be great.
I love that, man. I love that. Well, Chris, anything you'd like to add in there, brother? I know you're a killer closer as well, man. I love anything else you'd like to add in there?
I think everything you said is phenomenal, and 100%. As you stated, like this is something that Jesse does on a daily basis. Like, and we do hop on phones with sellers. We do also hop on the phone with realtors and also Zooms. One thing about Zooms, it really brings a person more so of an intimate setting, and a lot of people don't realize that. People get very timid when it comes to Zooms, right? And afraid to ask the seller and the agent, hey, let's just hop on a Zoom. Like today, actually, a perfect example of myself, Jesse, and a couple individuals. We got to hop on a Zoom right after this podcast and go over the next steps of property over in Texas. So it brings a little bit of rapport, credibility, and not just that. They actually know that you're a real person trying to move forward on this property. You're not just a wholesaler, or even if you're trying to wholesale, that is okay. Just let the seller know exactly what's going on. Back to James and Jesse's point earlier, when they started talking about disqualifications and all that good stuff. It's great to disqualify, but at the same time, really understand what the seller is trying to accomplish, because you may not be the best fit. And a lot of people try to, when the seller says yes, they're ready to move forward and sell, and then the only thing that's on their mind is commission breath. I hate to say it like that, but it's commission breath. How much I'm going to make on this property? So I'm going to fight to try to get this property, but in reality, you're not really a good fit for this seller and what he or she is trying to accomplish. So those are my thoughts on it, more so. And I do want to go back.
Thank you for sharing that, bro.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I want to go up to Bobby's comment about realtors saying that sub 2 is illegal. So as a TC, and I oversee our TC part of our business, if you ever look in the line in all 50 states, 502 or 503, it says subject to right on the line. Look at any HUD or settlement statement, it's always there. If the realtor tells you that, they're just not informed or inexperienced. I don't know, but you can inform them exactly what that looks like. Specifically ask them, hey, do you have a settlement statement in front of you? Can we pull this up together? Let's go to this line. Can you explain to me what this line means? You probably shock them, but essentially you just, in every state, is there. So their little real estate, actually so funny. You guys, everyone knows Colin Gibney on here. So funny. You guys know about the CE shop? I used to do it, and as well. Do you know the CE shop is teaching subject to right now? For real estate.
What is the CE shop, bro?
So it's basically like another terminology for people who's trying to get their real estate license. They have to go through a 72-hour course. You can either utilize the CE shop and or other different platforms just to get your license, depending on what state you're in. And now when people are getting their license, it has literally a section where they talk about subject to. And I know within 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now, we're going to look back and it's probably going to be in every course, every book about how subject to works. Probably have a different verbiage or different terminologies, but just understanding from a real estate standpoint. And Bobby, when you put that comment up there, we hear that still to this day, where literally realtors always say that it's illegal. I heard all about it. My brokerage won't do it or allow it. And it's just the way you communicate in regards to what that looks like. You can just tell them specifically, hey, would you be opposed to hearing a little bit more about it, and or actually, can your brokerage hop on the phone with us, or can your brokerage hop on the Zoom with us? We would love to get everyone on the Zoom and literally go over this. And transparent, I would love to initiate that conversation, because I know for a fact from all the deals that not just Jesse and I done, but literally all the deals we ever came across, in a lot of states, there's not one state you cannot do subject to it. If you do find a state, please let me know. But
if there was a state, it would be Alaska, and that problem has been solved.
That's correct. It's just more so like all the deals that's out there and realtors. It's becoming a new norm, and people just got to adapt to it. A lot of people are, especially being in the industry for 20, 30 years as realtors, they even say to this day, this is illegal. I just don't know how to, I just never heard of it. And or can you tell me a little bit more about it? Perfect example. Josh, if you're watching this, hope you're having an amazing weekend. He's taking his wife to Costa Rica this weekend. Oh shit, I don't think I should have said that. It's supposed to be a surprise. I don't think she has me on Facebook, so I just thought about it. Damn, I just thought about it. No, she don't have me on Facebook. I'm good.
Suck it back in, Chris.
Right. But Josh, perfect example. We're working on a lot of things on this TC side, and he came across a realtor. A realtor specifically stated that they wanted to talk to the transaction coordinator. I said no problem. I had literally a 45-minute conversation with the gentleman Alex, and Alex and I literally had a great conversation. And literally, this is over in Michigan, where he said he never heard of it. No one ever brought it up to him as far as anything. Just he's so used to cash transaction, conventional VA loan, just the normal stuff, right? Only on market, but this has been sitting on the market for 242 days, and 242 days that could be in a desperate situation for not just the realtor, because they have a job to do. It may look bad on them depending on how you look at it, because the seller thinking to in their head, how come the realtor is not doing their job to sell my house? But 45 minutes into the conversation, we're having a great conversation, just talking about just everything. He asked me what I do, what our company does, and just the next steps who led to us. Literally specifically, I said, when is a great time that can George and Joanne get on the phone or Zoom next week? And he said, well, let me reach out to him. We could probably hop on the Zoom literally next Tuesday or Wednesday. I said, phenomenal. I said, I will get with our team. We'll set that up and let us know what the next steps. And this is someone who actually, I don't want to say ran out of options, but wasn't just experienced enough or informed enough to know that there's another option out there. So he's stoked about it. Essentially, can we get this to the finish line? 1,000%. But it's more so just being informed, just being open-minded could change a lot of things. If you're closed-minded, you're not going to get a lot of things done. Just that's not how it is.
Great.
I love it. Well, we're going on an hour and 20 minutes. I'm going to let you guys, we'll kind of wrap this up and let everybody else have an amazing rest of their weekend. We'll let these guys get on with their weekend. Angel and James and Carlin, any final parting words? Everybody who's stuck or wanting to learn more, or even how they can work with you guys.
Just reach out. I mean, that's really the best advice. If you're at a stopping point on anything you're doing in your business, reach out. That's what this community is for. Not just me or Carlin, James, you guys, everyone in this community. There are people here with lots of experience, new people, but everybody has a way to do things, and anybody here is happy to help you. So just reach out.
If you send me a friend request, can you also send me a message and just let me know? Because that's one of the things that there's.
Yeah. Just send us a message. We'll set something up. I got a calendar link. It's attached to my page. We can set something up if you want to do it that way. Hop on a Zoom, or just DM me and I can, my phone number. We can talk that way.
Hey, so is it Pimp Sauce? Is it Pimp Sauce on Facebook? I'm not for sure.
Yeah. No, it's James Hostard. James Hostard. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We could change it to Pimp Sauce.
I could put it.
But I think they make you.
Joel says Pimp Daddy, dude.
Amazing.
Carlin's like, love it, guys. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you guys very much for being here. Really appreciate you. This is super awesome. Again, you guys, if you guys can connect with James and Angel every Saturday at noon. They're doing the Closers Roundtable, so get in here and listen to them make calls, and they're doing role plays and all the fun things. You guys want to up your game and your communication skills and your negotiating skills and all that kind of fun stuff. Get better at articulating and understanding creative finance and wholesaling and all that kind of stuff. The question you got to ask yourself is, can you afford to not be in there? Like, what are you missing, or what's the cost of not getting in there and being intentional with those relationships and your time? So yeah, I certainly appreciate you guys. Thank you guys very much. I love you guys very dearly, and I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your weekend. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the House of Cards podcast with Chris James and Jesse Stanton. We hope you've enjoyed this episode and have learned something new about real estate investing. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for more tips and tricks. And don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never